All right, guys, after a few weeks of posting stuff on the HD trucks, well, we got a heavy hitter question. A lot of people dogging, saying, well, I tow with my half ton and my half ton's rated for this and I can tow and do everything I need with half ton. I think that's fantastic. However, some people have actually told me what they're towing. They're literally towing their max weight with a half ton pickup. Now, when you go into the towing guides on an F-150, Silverado 1500, a Tundra, whatever, etc., to get those max, towing ratings, especially for conventional. I mean, when you go into a half-ton fifth wheel type setup, those ratings go down, and you'll see that in most of the guides. But it's their conventional towing, so we're talking about the hitch right here, right down here, which is typically a class 2, 3, sometimes a 4 on a half ton, depending on what you got. Now, the biggest issue with maxing out your tow rating is guys, listen. Back in the 80s and stuff, half tons were a little bit more than what they are now in regards to, they were like heavy half tons, so they were doing the work on the farm and everywhere else. Now trucks are built lighter and everything like that, so if you're towing a 13,000 pound trailer and yet your tow vehicle is a crew cab shorty, and you only have, I don't know, a third of the weight in the tow vehicle that you're using, I mean, guys, that's not going to be safe, and it's not going to be good. But in all reality, if you look at those tow guides, to really get the Mac Daddy package of towing, you have to have a very odd duck half ton, meaning like an extended cab, standard bed, so it's a 6 3/4 bed or 8 foot bed, and but you're looking at 8 foot bed on the regular cab, 2-wheel drive. Okay, even with the new Duramax, I mean, it says it, the little 6 or 3.06 inline 6 says it gets up to 13,000. I think even the F-150 with the Coyote and the 3.5 twin turbo, it's getting up there in the 13,000 pound range. Well, again, that odd duck is the crew cab, the standard bed, extended cab, 2-wheel drive. Okay, so if you're in the market for a 2-wheel drive truck, great. There's probably a lot of those in states that they don't see a lot of inclement weather or whatnot. But I mean, at the end of the day, you might be able to do it, but this tow vehicle doesn't even weigh half of what you're towing. You're not set up for it. I mean, these brakes are substantially smaller than an HD truck. You put some, say, Timbrens or some air ride on there, and you got 2 Lees. The brakes are smaller, the cooling systems are smaller. There's a lot of things that go into it, and so like I said before, you can get away with a half ton. I think if you're under 7,500 pounds, and you got the right truck set up, because most of these half tons out here are only about the 9,900 pounds. Now that's total, guys. That is literally all in. That's your passengers, that's your cargo, that's your fuel, that is your water in your trailer and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of expectations of what half tons can do, and they do have a great place in the market, and you can tow with them, and you can do a lot of things. At work, we have a lot of extended cab standard beds, and those ones are rated to tow a little bit higher, because why? There's less cab, there's less weight of the actual truck. Then again, it has its limitations. Even when we put on some heavier loads, even though they're not maxed out, they are very, very whipping on that little trailer. So even if you have like sway bars and stuff like that, a lot of these trucks aren't equipped like that, and to find a max tow one of these is pretty tough. Now, in addition to that, Ford even says on theirs that these type of beds on these trucks are, even though you can put one in here, they're not set up for that. So you'd have to get a standard bed on a half ton, which you can see here. The predominant bed is that little 5.8, or I call it the baby box. So I mean, you really have to be really kind of careful. In addition to that, most of these the tires on the trucks aren't going to be a heavy duty ply tire, so you're going to create a lot of heat, especially if you like to tow fast. Again, it's not about power. These half tons have more power than the first gen Cummins. They have as much horsepower as some of the bigger truck engines in there. So it's really not about that. What it is about, though, is when you go to fifth wheeling, it cuts that tow rating down a ton. When you go to conventional, that's where they're saying they're getting these big numbers from. Okay, well, you got to be ready for that, because your trailer is probably going to be a 35 footer. So that means it's about 2 times longer than this truck, or 2.5 times longer than this truck. Control. it's not about just having power to move it. It's about control and stopping. You get into some wind and everything like that. Well, really what they do is they put these ratings very high on a lot of these pickups, so you think, well, I'm good to go. Well, then you get underneath the truck, and you can see right here, they put this down below. So this is, you know, a 500-pound carrying tongue weight. All right. So really, if you're using a distributing one, you know, you can see the weights there and everything. But guys, I mean, 500 pounds is not a lot of tongue weight, and this is where you're going to get into some issues because, again, these vehicles are reporting directly back to Ford. So especially if you get a max tow package, it's collecting analytical data and reporting this back to Ford. And I walk through, they probably have about 30, 40, I don't know, maybe even 60 half tons here. All cool, great little trucks. And this will go the same with Chevy and GM. They got a lot of half tons out there. But none of these are directly set up for the max tow setup, okay? So again, I think you just run into issues. Like when people say, well, I'm towing with my half ton and it was a piece of junk, or a Ford EcoBoost or a piece of junk. Well, we use these all the time at work and we really don't have a lot of big issues with it. I mean, after a couple, 150,000 miles, yeah, we start having some issues. But I mean, these people are like, well, I do this. Then you look at how they're using the truck and the abuse that these trucks are taking. It's just, to me, it's crazy to think that. I haven't really towed with a half ton anything since my Avalanche had the 8.1 and the Allison transmission. So the big guy had more power than what it had, but the truck was not adequate enough to really pull anything. But at the end of the day, again, you're gonna have to make a conscious decision, guys. And that's why I always say get something that's 10 to 20% more than what you need, so that way you never have to replace that truck too early. You don't abuse that truck. You're not overloading that truck. And in addition to that, it's all about control. There's some guys who are like, well, your truck can't pull at 75 miles an hour. I would probably say that's probably not a smart thing anyway. I don't like to do that, but again, it's just all about getting the load controlled, slow down, and getting it there safely, getting you and your family there safely, and everything like that. So would I tow with a half ton? Absolutely. If your needs dictate nothing more than a half ton, and make sure your half ton is ready to do a little bit more than what you're planning to only do with it. So if you have a 7,000 pound trailer, then get one that's rated for, say, 95, 10, 11, 12 on a half ton, and you're going to step up and pay a little bit more for it. But at the end of the day, you will be prepared, and your truck will take the abuse and everything like that. Nothing's going to replace a heavy duty truck, but do I think that everybody needs to jump right from, say, a SUV that you're using to tow that seems to have done just fine to a 3/4 ton? No. Unless, again, you're looking into the future and you're saying, hey, we want to upgrade and we know we're going to need this. Okay, then you need to think bigger picture and longer down the road. I did a video on the 5 biggest buying mistakes you could do, and I kind of touched on that. Forecast what you're going to need the truck for, how long you're going to need it, if you're going to change anything else. A lot of people, they'll actually go out and buy the new fifth wheel, and then they spend so much money on it that they're like, crap, now I got to upgrade from my half ton to a 3/4 ton. I'm going to go as cheap as I can on that. And that works in some instances as long as you're not overloading it, but then you get sometimes into that effect where you're really bummed out because it doesn't do as well as you thought. So, touchy subject, guys. We're down through the Ford dealership down in Centennial, Colorado at Groove. They got a ton of F-150s. They even got some heavy duties out here. And I would tell you this. Can you tow with half ton? Yes. Can you tow with a heavy duty? Yes. Should you do everything with either one of those trucks? No. You really need to be specific. Again, look after yourself, look after your family, look after your personal property. Don't get yourself in a civil lawsuit because you didn't plan ahead or pay attention to ratings and tow numbers and stuff like that. Because again, that tongue weight on these half tons is really what kills it. Because you can put all the weights up there all you want, but if the tongue weight's there and it's overdoing it, then you're gonna run your warranty, you're gonna have issues. And again, I made note on this. I had a couple of neighbors who bought matching trailers, matching F-150s. One had the max tow, I think, Coyote, and the other one had the max tow 3.5. And both of them take them out, and boy, that didn't last long. They threw codes, had troubles and stuff like that because they maxed them out. They weren't thinking about all the other crap and swag they're going to put in there. So nonetheless, they end up trading. One went with the Cummins, and then the other one eventually with the Cummins also, and now one of them doesn't have the Cummins nor does have that. So at the end of the day, always forecast, because these are expensive decisions you need to make. And again, make sure you can control your load. If you're going to tow with a half ton, control that load. Guys, please subscribe, like these videos, hit the notification bell if you want to see the content that's coming up. Got a lot of great stuff, and we're going to see you on the next one.